Hello, I'm still on Hibernation projects, and you can see the sewing project that I started behind me. There'll be at least one more video showing that. I have another week or two to go on it. But I have other hibernation projects, and I wanted to talk to you about one of my other hibernation projects before hibernation time is over. This is kind of a year round project, really, because it's reading. And I wanted to briefly talk about annotating books that you're reading because I had been interested in watching videos recently where people were annotating their books. And it was a bit mysterious to me, the different methods that people were using. But I thought, I bet my method is not one that they're using, and everybody's method is specific to their needs. So you can also learn from other people little annotation tricks. And one of the things that's very popular at the moment is using these little index tabs for annotating. But I use them sometimes, but not that often, for fiction. And I have different ways of doing things for different types of books. So I'm going to show you what I'm reading during hibernation, and then I'm going to show you some of the annotation things that I've done. Okay, so I'll show you the books first, and then I'll show you a close up of some of the annotations and why I did them that way. And then I have a whole annotation system to show you in a Matchbox, which I love. It's my latest thing. So I have three books that I've been reading over the winter. That one I have not started yet. I'm looking forward to that. And that is about a note taking system person. The person who came up with the note taking system known as Zettelkasten, which is a very popular note taking system. And it's like having a mini library cross referencing system. At your fingertips, but I haven't read it yet. And I'm not an expert in Zettelkasten, but I'm really looking forward to that because he's a systems theory guy. So a non-fiction book. That's my next book. This book I'm reading at the moment, and the corners are a bit wet because I was reading it in the bath. This is an Umberto Eco book that I picked up secondhand. 50 cent, I think it cost me. And I'm three-quarters of the way through it. And I have a few annotations in it. And that's what made me think, oh, yeah, I think I'll do this video because I have this book, a fiction, with a non-fiction, which is fairly, not heavily annotated, but it's annotated. But it doesn't have any of the little index tabs out the side. And I'll tell you why that is. So this is a non-fiction, and I have finished that. I bought that one myself new and finished it off. And then the little Matchbox has a lot of the annotations, and then the actual book has the other annotations. So they cross-reference. So I'll show you how they work. Okay. I hope you'll find this interesting. You might find it useful. You mightn't use it. You might be interested in my very brief opinion of the books as well. So I'll show you where I am on this one. And I didn't start annotating until quite far in because the bit I started annotating is kind of a non-fiction bit. So it's typically the sort of thing I might want to cross-reference elsewhere. So I could actually mark this if I wanted to. But the way I would use these little tabs is to annotate it, but I might mark the tab as well. I might write something like latitude on this tab because there's a whole section here that's about latitude, and then the next bit I'll show you is about time. So I'll let you just read that while I'm annotating it, and you'll see the sense in annotating it the way that I'm going to. I'll put my Matchbox and a couple of things underneath so that you don't have any trouble reading it while I write out the notes.
So you see how those bits were about the same subject. And the other thing that I would do is annotate key concepts to do with that. So anything in the pink highlighter pen is going to be to do with latitude and time. And I didn't annotate it when I was in the bath, so I would do this while I'm reading rather than afterwards, because it just, to me, it's not fun going back annotating afterwards. I know a lot of people enjoy doing that. The other thing I do, instead of highlighting a whole section, is I might just do a line down the side because that idea is relevant to that. So that's where these ideas start. And then I know that within there, anything in that color is going to have the same kind of idea. So when I forget this book, you know, later in the year when I've read lots more books, a few years' time, I might come back or and remember that section, because often I'll do that if a section strikes me as interesting. It'll strike me as interesting a few years later. But immediately after reading, and in fact while I'm still on that section, I might like to go and look up more elsewhere about that and do more reading or more looking up online or whatever. So I'll show you how that might differ from another book. And it differs a bit, but not that much, in that I'm not really annotating things that are just nice bits of writing. I don't generally tend to do that. I don't see why I wouldn't, but I just haven't at the moment. Maybe I'll get into that, I don't know. So it's bits of information that I want to look at again or look up elsewhere. And the same thing is going to go for this book, because didn't I say that this book is non-fiction as well? So there's ideas that I keep wanting to return to find out more. So there was a lovely chapter in this book that I really enjoyed, and it had lots of nice diagrams and everything explaining it. And you can see I have got some writing on it and marked up the chapter. And these are made with the homemade little stamp that is in this little box. And I have a little matchbox called a reader's note-taking set that I constructed, and it's got everything I need when I'm reading my book to be able to take notes. And I ended up with 2 notebooks for this book. And I've got my little stamp in there as well, pencil pair. But on the first one, I've got notebook 102. I think I got to chapter 7 here. I'm on page 155. So 172, 169. You can see I'm referring to page numbers there. So this is all within this chapter. So I started taking notes, finding the book really interesting, kind of from this chapter onwards. So you see I have the page numbers referred to. I've got little bits of quotes, and I've got little summaries of what happened in different paragraphs. I also have some little bit of highlighting going on in the actual book, but the book cross-references with this in that I have the relevant paragraphs with some sort of little mark. I also have a little mark, a stamp up in the corner of a different type to quickly get me to that page in the book where somebody else might decide they want to use these tabs sticking out to get them there. The other thing I tend to use a lot is postcard system, because I have lots of postcards, and I love much later when I come back to the same book years later, or keep picking it off the shelf, to find bits I really liked marked with the postcard. And you can also write notes on the back of the postcard if you want, when there's lots of space. So I love this system. But those little notebooks, when you're finished the whole book and you've done all your annotations that you want and everything for the book, they go back in that little case, and the little case gets put away, and you can add to it as you read more books. But obviously when you run out of space in a matchbox, you just get another matchbox. They're a cheap item, and you can use the matches for having a nice bit of incense while you're doing your reading. And you can mark what year your reading was taking place in, so you have matchbooks for all of that year. That's for sharpening your pencil on as well. And you can stack them. So they're very easy to store away. It's a tiny note-taking system. That's what I really like about it. For something like the book I have to read next, I don't know, I might get my like really heavy-duty note-taking system out. This is a heavy-duty systems theory, philosophy kind of a book. And this is the heavy-duty notebook. And I'm sort of growing out of this, but still have some need for it. I'm growing out of it because I don't return to it that often. So it is useful as a memory aid, but I've discovered that it's really only useful as a memory aid when I'm writing, because that's active learning when I'm writing, you see. So philosophy would be something that typically you might have to take notes on to be able to remember various things, because there's a lot of definitions and everything in it, and you have to keep returning to them all the time in order to keep reading the book. But it's a bit of a slog. It can be a bit of a slog, this sort of note-taking. So I like my little system in a matchbox. But obviously you wouldn't be able to take the in-depth notes that I'm taking here, you know. And I am using the tabs here to divide different topics. So this is more of a scholastic notebook or a commonplace journal for reading, you know what I mean? For different topics and everything, and writing down goals and everything. Okay. And that might get a look in when I start reading about Luhman's systems. So that's it. So, you know, all that remains is for me to give you another free read. We'll give you a free page out of Sopolsky's book, will we? See what you make of that.
So, do you need a big annotation system or a little one? No, not if you're just reading for pleasure. But if you want to remember something or go back to a book that you've read or keep notes on it for cross referencing or something, it's handy to have a notation system, isn't it? And I said I'd give you a very brief what I thought of the books. So the Umberto Eco one, I'm like just past halfway point in it. It was a bit of a slow start. If you wanted an exciting paced read, you might prefer something like The Name of the Rose if you've not read Echo before. Um, but I'm enjoying it now, I have to say. I am enjoying it once you kind of get into the right pace with the book. Sometimes it takes me a while to settle down with the book, so it's not the book's fault. Um, I'm enjoying it now. This one I have not read yet, but I have an index tab on the front to tell you that the guy that wrote it, Hans-Georg Moeller, um, From Souls to Systems is the name of the book, on Luhman, who wrote systems, who devised systems theory and the Zettelkasten note-taking system, so it's relevant to annotations, isn't it? He has a channel on YouTube called Carefree Wandering, and you can find out about Luhman in that. And you can find out about this other guy if you've never heard of him either. And this book, which is a fairly new one, out, which argues that there's no such thing as free will. And I enjoyed most of the book tremendously. And then the last couple of chapters, which were the conclusions, I started writing all over the margins because I got annoyed at some of the conclusions. But see how you get on, you know. And there's some wonderful stuff in it, really enjoyable. So if you like sort of some wondering about how the world works kind of stuff with a little bit of sciencey, physicsy stuff, it's brilliant. He's a neurobiologist, so it's not fiction. So it's a mix of things, and I like to have some fiction and non-fiction going. And I don't know whether you're reading over the winter period. I call it my hibernation period, but it is a lovely thing to do, as well as the sewing. And the ants are going to be waking up soon, so all the other hibernation hobbies. And coming out of hibernation, there are going to be different aspects to hobbies and things, and getting out and about and painting and all sorts of things. So I hope you'll stick around and find out what else I'm getting up to, and tell me what you're getting up to for your hibernation, or what you're reading might be suitable for this particular video. I'd love to hear.